I know you're busy around this time, but quickly, tell us 2 days of engaging Ghanaians on the way forward when it comes to education. What's been the highlights?
Once again, thank you, Winston and team. The highlights of yesterday's activities, both the second day of the national convening and then also the first day, the only day, day one of the zonal convening for UTC and then water regions, witnessed many proposals, especially in the area of basic education and TVET. In the water and UTC, which I sat through at the Ho Technical University, the challenges are obviously not different, and so we are expecting that innovative recommendations is what should distinguish this activity from previous ones. There were concerns about how the government should approach the issue of increasing the secondary TVET ratio. If you recollect, prior to free senior high school, we had about 7% of our secondary school students doing TVET. As a result of the introduction of free SHS and free TVET, this has increased to about 11%. But you realize that the pace is very slow, given that over 130 TVET schools were added to the stock of already existing institutions under the Ministry of Education. And so stakeholders were worried that since 2020, when the government established the Ghana TVET service, it appears that as we have separated TVET schools from senior high schools, many people may not want to go to technical schools because of the perception that TVET schools are second fiddle. There are best practices in other countries, including the UK, etc., where efforts to increase the percentage of the youth or second cycle population involved in TVET focus on mainstreaming, where in high category schools, for instance, you mainstream TVET, create TVET programs so that students who are interested in going to these higher category schools will consider, going to the schools and doing TVET instead of going to a lower category school and not doing TVET. For instance, having a TVET program at Presec would attract more students to do TVET because they want to go to Presec, rather than perhaps go to a lower category school to do TVET. So that's one of the proposals that came from the TVET stakeholders in the region in respect to how to improve the participation or increase the participation of students in TVET. There were issues surrounding the need for our curriculum, our standard-based curriculum on the basic level, to be reviewed, and emphasis on values-based education. More or less, the curriculum is good in the area of cognitive and critical thinking by way of content, but a bit light on socio-emotional learning and value-based education. We know that this year there will be the first review of the curriculum. Every 5 years, according to the National Curriculum Assessment Framework, the curriculum framework, our curriculum is supposed to be reviewed at the basic level. And so we are already 5 years. It was introduced in 2019. And so such proposals, many proposals centered around improving the quality of the curriculum, making it more responsive, and to include other aspects of socio-emotional learning which were not adequately captured. One of the major issues in basic education being raised is the issue of digital literacy. Winston, our new curriculum aims, among others, at creating digital literacy. In fact, digital literacy is one of the core competencies of our new curriculum. After 5 years of implementation, computing was supposed to be a compulsory subject from primary 4 up to the end of junior high school 3. But due to the lack of ICT facilities in about 85% of our basic schools, we still do not have a compulsory course called computing. In this case, the meaning is that that core competency that the new curriculum is supposed to produce in our human capital will not be core, because only a few will have the opportunity of becoming digital literate. And so, for me, this is the most prevalent issue that has emerged both at the national convening and at the zonal convening. How we should look for cost-effective ways of providing ICT facilities in all public basic schools, especially in areas where electricity connectivity doesn't exist, off-grid areas, and then also in areas where even though electricity connectivity exists, there is no access because the school has no resources to connect electricity from the nearest community or town. And emphasis innovative, cost-efficient approaches, not building ICT laboratories, but then having mobile ways, of having good internet, and then renewable energy, this laptops that you don't have to buy laptops for everybody in the school, but at least buy a laptop for a class, so that if a class is computing, the class can move the laptops to the classroom, use it, and then pack it onto the next class. And so a lot of the discussions, more or less, have been how to strengthen the implementation of the existing curriculum, and then also how to improve the participation of our youth in TVET at the second cycle level to help create a skills-rich secondary education population.
Since you explored about making TVET more acceptable, and you said put it in the schools that already have a certain appreciation or is loved by many people or is a choice of many, how about considering change of name? I know, for example, STEM has something in common with TVET. How about just limiting it to names like what they call it, tech, engineering, and all of the other relations, which are also fundamental elements of TVET in many forms? Is that not even possible, for example? So instead of saying it's a TVET school, why don't we call it an engineering school or an innovation school?
Well, that's a good proposal. I will share my opinion on this as a TVET enthusiast. STEM includes science-related TVET.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the science and engineering-related TVET are part of STEM. And so if you go to the STEM schools that we have, and other schools that are non-STEM schools, but are actually running STEM programs, you realize that you have programs like electrical engineering,
True.
mechanical engineering, which are all in TVET institutes. But the challenge is that if we fuse in all the science-related TVET programs into STEM schools, we'll end up having vocational schools or non-science, vocational schools, and that will also be another challenge. That is not my recommendation, but that's my understanding of how, in the past, we've addressed this. The nomenclature issues have been experimented in the past. In the past, we were calling carpentry. Now it's woodwork. We've moved from an era of hairdressing to beauty and cosmetics. We've moved from an era of tailoring and then dressmaking to fashion and to fashion. And so nomenclature has taken place, and then to the extent possible, made TVET attractive through a rebranding effort. So those are all laudable ones, but I'm only communicating that one new thing that emerged was the fact that we can also, in addition to the nomenclature to rebrand and make attractive, also look at integrating, adapting a mainstream approach, inclusive approach institutionally to TVET provisioning, whereby you don't only do TVET in TVET schools, but then you create TVET departments that will teach the same TVET in the TVET qualification framework and the CBT curriculum being run in TVET institutions in high category schools, so that the demand for PRESEC not, for instance, only benefit science students, STEM students, generalized students, but also benefit TVET students, including those who are not doing science-related TVET, but then are pursuing programs that are market-led.
Now, Kofi, how about secondary education? Because earlier we had picked information that a lot of the proposals were on targeted funding or targeted approach to the implementation of free SHS.
Yes, yesterday, on day one, Professor Kwame Champong gave a brilliant keynote. He believes that targeting free senior high school is the way to go. He believes that Ghana cannot be different from the entire world. Well, that is right knowledge. I mean, we keep saying that Ghana has the most expensive secondary education system. Ghana is the only country in the world where boarding education is free at the public level. There's no other country like that. I don't know of that country yet. And so our secondary education system is more or less subsidizing secondary education for the rich. That's what it means. Where we should be making it free, entirely free for the poor, and then letting the rich pay. And so the discussions, there were recommendations to target free senior high school. There were some recommendations to impose cutoffs because the students are not interested in learning, because they know that at the BC level, according to the teachers, the students are not interested in learning because they know that whatever happens, if they have like a 54, they'll still go to secondary school. And so there's no motivation to put in their best efforts at the BC level. And so that's the main reason why some stakeholders, especially at the community level,
can you hold on 1 minute for me?
Are pushing for for the introduction of admission cutoff so that the students will be more competitive when they are in junior high school, etc. There's also been discussions around improving the quality of feeding.
Okay.
Indeed, those calling for targeted free senior high school and allowing those who are in a position to pay by way of their income earnings to do same, mainly building, among others, building their position on the fact that they are unable to finance the cost of feeding.
So please hold on 1 minute for me. Kofi, just hold on 1 minute. Kofi, just hold on 1 minute. Yes, Kofi, just hold on 1 minute. Let me bring in Reverend John Ntim-Fordjour in at this point. Now that you've talked about, free SHS, and people are asking for a targeted approach because of our inability to bear the cost of feeding. Reverend Ntim-Fordjour, what's your take? You think that's only an attempt on reneging on the promise to continue free SHS in its current state with this whole approach of people say it should be targeted?
Absolutely. I have always maintained my view strongly, way before they started work on the stakeholder consultation, that this is just an avenue for President John Mahama to mutilate the sterling monumental free SHS policy. This is just going to be an excuse to abolish it, because free SHS is free SHS policy because of its essential component of equity, of access. Now they are thinking of bringing back cut-off. The moment you bring back cut-off qualification into SHS, you are going to, data suggested that the cut-off system, among other barriers, accounted for over 150,000 students who would complete BEC but would be unable to proceed to SHS. That was before the introduction of free SHS. From 2012 all the way to 2016, that was the data. Around 150,000 BEC graduates could not go to SHS because there was cut-off. It's just a man-made, deliberate attempt to remove certain categories of people from getting to SHS. Secondly, someone has brought free SHS, implemented it for 8 years. However, financial challenges and other challenges that may have encountered, they have successfully implemented it. You are supposed to implement it for 4-year mandate, and you're already struggling at the outset as to how to finance it, and now you're looking at targeting. Now, the question I ask about targeting is that, what mean testing criteria are they going to use to determine who is poor in this country and who is rich? And how accurate is that mean testing going to be? Because, for instance, the gentleman who always wears suits in the Range Rover, who comes to work and is paid through the account, and you can determine from their earning, their income level to put him in a certain bracket, might even be renting the house or property of the vulcanizer at the junction, who always wears working gear and dirty clothes, taking 10 pesos, 50 pesos, and 10 cedis per job. You might think that by the kind of job he does, because you don't have the digital means and his work is so informal, you might think that his income is so low that he needs to be supported. The lady that may be selling tomatoes at Makola or Kejitia, you might conveniently classify such a person as poor and requiring help. and for which they will have to be the ones supported. But that will be misguided. Again, granted that they're even able to find a very accurate criteria for mean testing to separate who is poor from who is rich. The person that is deemed rich according to their classification is the category of people who have paid taxes and whose taxes is being used to finance free SHS. And you are saying that they are not eligible to benefit from the same program that their taxes are being used to finance. Now, the third question that arises is that now in this country, the moment that a political class decides that a certain group of people should enjoy a policy, then what's going to happen is that they will have their own determination to say, well, if you are poor and you know you can't fund it, you need to apply. Now, by the time the application process is through, you find out that it would only largely favor political loyalists. We are in this country. I'm a politician. Party A will come to power. If they have to administer scholarship scholarship secretariat, debt fund, or whichever agency that is administering scholarships, you have always seen that it's largely favoring the political loyalists. When Party B comes to power, their scholarship, offering also largely favors people that are deemed loyalists of that party. So it is going to totally mutilate free SHS. Now, the other aspect of their thinking, which is, bringing TVET, STEM, and grammar SHS all on the same compound, is highly misguided. They need to benchmark this specifically from best practices. Singapore, United States of America, Germany, and other countries whose education system has stood the test of time. They have their separate STEM schools, they have their separate grammar schools, they have their TVETs, and in some instances they even have their GATE schools, gifted and talented education, and I've had the opportunity to visit many of these. So if you are going to now suddenly bring technical tools to our installations to PreSec, and your assumption is that that is what is going to drive TVET enrollment, that is inaccurate. Now, the other thing to do with cost implication, what is the cost modeling? How much have they modeled to be the cost of ensuring that there is adequate technical installations and workshops, equipment and machinery in all the 926 SHS across the country to ensure that every secondary school has what it takes to be a proper TVET institution, so-called. For instance, anyone that wants to go to TVET, just like the likes of PreSec, Achimota, Adisado, Mfansi, Wesley Girls, Prempe, Opukuare, have made name for grammar. Same can be said of St. Paul's Technical in Kukurentumi, for instance. Aswansi Technical School nearby my constituency, for instance. Cape Coast Technical, Kumasi Technical. These are notable, highly subscribed technical institutions.
Okay, I'm so sorry. I have to cut in the Reverend Ntim Fojo because we are running out of time. But I think you've made your point, several points actually, about this. Yeah. I want to say a big thank you to you. We have to continue this conversation. Obviously,
they should invite him.
We've lost Kofi Asare. Unfortunately, we lost the connection there.
But they're going to Cape Coast now, so they should invite Reverend Ntim Fojo.
Yes, it will be good for him to contribute to the conversations there. Reverend, thank you again for your time. He's the former Deputy Education Minister, and of course you heard earlier from Kofi Asare